###Chapter 3 The Awakening. The following morning, my alarm clock blared into the quiet stillness of my room, dragging me out of a restless sleep. I groaned and slapped the snooze button, wishing I could stay wrapped in the cocoon of my blankets forever. But Evelyn's words from the night before echoed in my mind, filling me with a sense of urgency. I needed to understand what was happening to me and how to control it. School was a blur. I moved through the hallways like a ghost, barely registering the familiar faces and mundane routines. My thoughts were consumed by the revelations of the previous evening and the terrifying power I now knew I possessed. The whispers were ever present, their voices weaving through my thoughts like a dark melody. By the time the final bell rang, I felt drained and jittery, my nerves frayed from the constant onslaught of the whispers. I made my way to Evelyn's house, my heart pounding with a mix of anticipation and dread. Evelyn welcomed me inside with a warm smile, her presence both calming and reassuring. "Come in, Olivia. We have much to discuss." We settled into her cozy sitting room, and I couldn't help but be captivated by the various artifacts and crystals that adorned the shelves. Evelyn handed me a cup of herbal tea, and I took a tentative sip, feeling its warmth spread through me. "Today, we'll start with the basics," Evelyn began, her voice steady and soothing. "Your abilities are still raw and unrefined. You need to learn how to focus your thoughts and channel your power." I nodded, determined to absorb every word. "How do I do that?" "First, you need to understand the nature of your power," Evelyn explained. "Your thoughts have the ability to shape reality. When you think or feel intensely about something, it manifests in the physical world. This can be both a gift and a curse." A chill ran down my spine as I recalled the incidents that had been happening around me, objects moving on their own, strange changes in my environment. So, my nightmares, the whispers, they're my thoughts coming to life? Yes, Evelyn confirmed. Your emotions and fears are powerful triggers. When you're scared or anxious, your mind projects those feelings into the world around you. That's why it's crucial to learn control. She guided me through a series of exercises designed to help me focus and calm my mind. We started with simple meditation, closing our eyes and breathing deeply, allowing the whispers to fade into the background. At first, it was difficult. The voices clawed at the edges of my consciousness, demanding my attention. But slowly, I began to find moments of stillness. "Good," Evelyn said softly. "Now, visualize a barrier around your mind. Picture it as a shield of light, impenetrable and strong. This will help you block out the negative energy and the whispers." I followed her instructions, imagining a radiant barrier surrounding my thoughts. The whispers grew fainter, and for the first time in weeks, I felt a sense of peace. "Excellent," Evelyn praised. "With practice, this will become second nature. But remember, control is not about suppressing your abilities. It's about channeling them in a positive way." As the days turned into weeks, my sessions with Evelyn became a lifeline. Each lesson brought new challenges and revelations, and I slowly began to understand the true extent of my powers. The whispers, though ever present, no longer held the same paralyzing grip on my mind. One afternoon, as we practiced focusing our thoughts, Evelyn placed a small crystal on the table in front of me. "Try to move it," she instructed. I stared at the crystal, concentrating with all my might. At first, nothing happened. Frustration bubbled up inside me, but I pushed it aside, recalling Evelyn's teachings. I took a deep breath, visualized the crystal floating, and willed it to move. To my astonishment, the crystal trembled and lifted off the table, hovering in the air for a few seconds before gently settling back down. A sense of triumph surged through me, and I turned to Evelyn with wide eyes. "You did it," she said, her voice filled with pride. "You're learning to harness your power." The thrill of success was short-lived, however. As my abilities grew stronger, so did the attention of the malevolent entities. They were relentless, always lurking in the shadows, waiting for a moment of weakness. One night, as I lay in bed, the whispers became a roar, drowning out my thoughts. The shadows in my room twisted and writhed, coalescing into dark figures that loomed over me. Panic surged through me, and I struggled to maintain my composure. "Olivia, join us." The voices were louder than ever, their presence suffocating. I clutched at my head, trying to block them out, but they pressed in on me, filling my mind with darkness. "No!" I shouted, summoning all my strength. I focused on the barrier of light, picturing it as a shield against the darkness. The figures recoiled, shrieking in pain before dissolving into the shadows. I collapsed onto my bed, shaking with fear and exhaustion. But I had done it. I had faced the darkness and won, if only for a moment. The journey ahead was fraught with danger, but I was determined to master my powers and protect those I loved. The malevolent entities would not control me. Not now, not ever. As I drifted off to sleep, I clung to the hope that with Evelyn's guidance, I could learn to control my abilities and find a way to banish the darkness for good. ####Chapter 4, Shadows of Fear. Days turned into weeks, and my training with Evelyn continued. Every afternoon after school, I would make my way to her quaint cottage on the edge of the forest. With each visit, I felt myself growing stronger and more confident in my abilities. Evelyn taught me to harness my power, to channel my thoughts and emotions in a way that prevented the whispers from taking control. But as my powers grew, so did the attention of the malevolent entities. They were relentless, always lurking in the shadows, waiting for a moment of weakness. One evening, after an especially grueling session with Evelyn, I walked home under the fading light of the setting sun. The autumn air was crisp, and the leaves crunched beneath my feet. I tried to focus on the beauty of the world around me, but the whispers were louder than ever, weaving through my thoughts like dark tendrils. When I reached home, I was greeted by the comforting sight of my family gathered in the living room. Mom and Dad were sitting on the couch, watching TV, while Sam was sprawled out on the floor, playing with his action figures. "Hey, sweetie," Mom said, looking up and smiling. "How was your day?" "Good," I replied, forcing a smile. "Just a lot of homework." I made my way upstairs to my room, eager for some solitude. The shadows in my room seemed to dance and twist as I entered, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me. I took a deep breath and tried to focus, picturing the barrier of light that Evelyn had taught me to visualize. For a while, it seemed to work. The whispers faded and the shadows receded. But as the night wore on, the sense of unease grew stronger. I tossed and turned in my bed, unable to find peace. Suddenly, a cold presence filled the room, and the whispers grew louder, merging into a cacophony of voices. I sat up, my heart pounding in my chest. The shadows coalesced into dark figures that loomed over me, their eyes glowing with malevolent intent. "Olivia, join us," they hissed, their voices like nails on a chalkboard. "No!" I shouted, summoning all my strength. I focused on the barrier of light, willing it to grow stronger and brighter. The figures recoiled, shrieking in pain before dissolving into the shadows. I collapsed onto my bed, trembling with fear and exhaustion. But I had done it. I had faced the darkness and won, if only for a moment. The next day, I confided in Evelyn about the encounter. Her expression was grave as she listened to my story. "The entities are growing stronger," she said. "They sense your power and are drawn to it. You must be vigilant, Olivia. You can't let your guard down." "I'm trying," I said, my voice tinged with frustration. "But it's so hard. They're everywhere, always waiting for a moment of weakness." Evelyn placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "I know it's difficult, but you're not alone. I'm here to help you, and together, we can overcome this." Her words gave me strength, and I resolved to continue my training with even greater determination. Over the next few weeks, I practiced tirelessly, honing my abilities and learning to control my thoughts and emotions. One afternoon, as I was practicing levitating small objects with my mind, I felt a sudden surge of energy. The crystal I had been focusing on shot into the air and shattered against the ceiling. I stared at the fragments in shock, my heart racing. Evelyn rushed over, her eyes wide with concern. "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I think so," I replied, still in disbelief. "What happened?" "Your emotions are powerful triggers," Evelyn explained. "When you're scared or angry, your powers can become uncontrollable. It's important to stay calm and focused." I took a deep breath and nodded, determined to master my abilities. "I understand. I'll try harder." As the days passed, I continued to practice and grow stronger. But the malevolent entities were never far away, always lurking in the shadows, waiting for a chance to strike. One night, as I was lying in bed, I felt a cold presence fill the room. The whispers grew louder, and the shadows twisted and writhed, forming dark figures that loomed over me. "Olivia, join us," they hissed, their voices like a sinister lullaby. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to block them out. But the whispers were relentless, pressing in on my mind and filling me with dread. I could feel my barrier of light wavering, the edges fraying under the assault. "Olivia, we can help you," the voices whispered, their tones soothing and persuasive. "Join us and you will never be alone." For a moment, I was tempted. The idea of no longer being alone, of having someone to help me, was enticing. But deep down, I knew that the entities were lying. They wanted to control me, to use my powers for their own dark purposes. "No!" I shouted, summoning all my strength. I focused on the barrier of light, willing it to grow stronger and brighter. The figures recoiled, shrieking in pain before dissolving into the shadows. I collapsed onto my bed, trembling with fear and exhaustion. But I had done it. I had faced the darkness and won, if only for a moment. The journey ahead was fraught with danger, but I was determined to master my powers and protect those I loved. The malevolent entities would not control me. Not now, not ever. As I drifted off to sleep, I clung to the hope that with Evelyn's guidance, I could learn to control my abilities and find a way to banish the darkness for good.